Birds are a wonderful subject for artists to paint, but for years I struggled with painting them. I felt I needed to learn how to make them realistic enough. But now I've realised that it's actually much more fun painting them in a whimsical way like this. And it's so easy and relaxing, and you can do it too. I'm Diane, and welcome to my studio. Let's jump in and start creating our own whimsical birds right now. We're going to start painting very soon, but before we do, I just wanted to open with you a brand new set of the Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints, which I've just received just this afternoon, about half an hour ago. And I'm quite excited to get these because my existing set, which is over here, and it's the one I'm still using, is looking a little bit depleted. So I don't think I've ever used so much paint in my whole entire life as I have with this Kuretake. Because it really is very, very good, and it's excellent for the kind of paintings that I do. So I'm going to open this. For those of you who don't have this type of paint yet, I do heartily recommend it if you are the kind of person who, there are various reasons why you might find this paint very beneficial, and but there are sort of unofficial reasons as well as official reasons. Officially, the reason for using this paint is if you're an illustrator and you like to paint Japanese cartoon type characters and that sort of thing. That's the official reason for them. That's why they exist, really. But the unofficial reason is that if you are a Westerner, really, I suppose, and you paint in a kind of traditional way, there's a very strong danger that you're going to get all tight and hung up and because you're painting with either very small little tiny pans, half pans of paint, or else you'll have tubes and you squeeze out little tiny little amounts of paint, and then you don't want to waste it because it's so expensive, and so on and so forth. And so you get tighter and tighter and tighter until you are terrified of a piece of paper and horrified at the thought of spoiling it. And you pick up a brush and you kind of just sort of have a nervous breakdown or an attack of a panic attack, so we don't want to go that way. And I was beginning to go that way a bit. When I started the channel, I was absolutely determined that my paintings had to be perfect. And if I was painting a bird, it had to look like a bird, and preferably the kind of bird I was actually trying to paint. And so I'm getting more and more kind of hung up. And I can probably show you one or two of those, actually. Yes, I have a little stack here. I thought I would show you. Yes, awful paintings I have done before I finally decided to give it up. This is a blue tit, and before anybody says that's lovely, it might be, but it's not what I was aiming for. I was aiming for something like a reproduction of a photograph. This is my efforts at sparrows. These are English sparrows, and this is a wren. And they just weren't doing it for me, okay? So I gave up, basically. Well, actually, I didn't. I carried on until I felt as if I was getting a little bit better. But then, after doing this, whatever bird that is, that's bee-eater, isn't it? And that's pretty bad. I started to loosen up a little bit, and this is a painting I did multiple times. And I want to say, if you actually want to improve your art, my best tip, and I should do a video entitled "The Only Way That You're Ever Going to Get Better as a Painter," is to paint the same thing again and again and again and again and again, like Monet did. I think he painted water lilies literally hundreds, if not thousands of times, and no one's ever going to say that he wasn't good at it. Anyway, so I painted these baby swallows probably literally more than 100 times, I have to say, in different arrangements and different styles. And the more I did it, the more confident I got about the shape of the bird and the way you could play with the shape of the bird and the way it would sit on a branch and where its legs came out from and what the eyes looked like in real life and what you could make the eyes look like in your interpretation and make them cute and so on and so forth. So this is what I was doing here. And to be honest, I did work on this a lot. And then I found, I looked at a few other people's art And this was one, I copied this because I can't remember who it's by. This is a very interesting use of colour, right? And so I thought I can learn something from that. So I don't have anything against anyone copying my work, and I don't believe anyone else ought to have anything against me copying their work, so I'm not going to sell it. You do it for practice, right? And Leonardo da Vinci would back me up on that one. And this is another one that I copied. I can't remember this. I think might have been Dean Krauser, this one, who is a great watercolorist. And I learnt a lot from emulating him. But I started to realise that the best way of doing birds was to ignore the reality, just to know what they're really like, but not to try to make them look like that, just to do whatever happened to come out the end of your brush. So that's a bit of my story. Now, this morning, what we're going to do something vaguely along these lines. I just did this morning as a trial, and we'll see how that goes. Why am I saying all this? Yes, okay. So then I discovered the Kuretake paints, and everything changed, and I was able to start painting like this. And I can do this now, and this makes me happy. It's not what I would call high art, but it's pretty and it makes me feel happy. And this one here as well. And I feel as if now I'm using these large pans of paint. It doesn't have to be Kuretake, and I am not the Kuretake queen, and I am not affiliated with Kuretake. I just don't want anyone to miss out on this experience if they want to loosen up. It's all about loosening up. So when you get these, you will find they look like a box of chocolates. They've got plastic cover on the top. They're in a cardboard box. They come with a swatch card that you can paint the different colours on so that you know what's what and where it goes. I can't be working with them like this in this box. What I have is, this is actually the lid to a palette from Meaden. It's the lid to their studio palette, the big one, which just so happens to fit the set of paints perfectly. And they go around the outside edge, and then you can paint in the middle. So that works really well. So I recommend you find a tray, something like that, and see whether you can make that work for you. So there we are. That's the Kuretake paints that have just arrived, and I'm really quite pleased to see a new set on my desk. So I'll put them over there. I've also got today these from Milena in England. She sells handmade fun paints, and these are great. She has loads and loads of different colours to choose from. She sells them on Etsy. I'll put a link in the description below. I'm going to use these ones today in the paintings, one of them at least. These are named after planets, I think. Oh no, these are the fairy tale ones. So we'll use those. They all come with a nice little bag like that, and this is the planet series. They're really lovely metallics. Most of them, I think they're all metallics actually. She makes them herself. I don't know how she manages. That's nice, isn't it? Maybe we'll use that one today. Maybe we'll use that one. I think that's nice. What are these called? Bronze, copper, ecru, true gold, and so on and so forth. Anyway, they're not very expensive. They're very reasonable, and you can get them on Etsy. She is in England, but she sends worldwide, and her shipping is very reasonable. So I do have an affiliate with her, but she's a lovely lady, and she's sent me so much paint. I don't know what to do with it all. I need a bigger studio. Right, so we'll keep that one to one side, and I will be using that then. Now, paper. Good old Meaden. What would we do without it? So that's that. This is a piece of 10 by 7 inches. I think that would be big enough for today. I'm going to do 2 little birds, I think. Will that be big enough? Maybe I should go for a bigger piece just in case. Why not? Let's go for this one. 12 by 9. And as well on hand, I have got my my water pot from Meaden. This one here. A lot of people are using this now. You see it all over YouTube. I don't use it for water. It's too small. I use this for water. It's a mason jar, and I have 2 of them on my desk. Always, always 2 of those. Right, so what have I got here? I've got Princeton Aqua Elite brush, size 12 and size 8. They are my preferred American brushes. I also use Drawwell, not Pro Art, Drawwell, which are from Japan, from a company called Drawwell. Mr. Miami makes these, and he will send them to you for a very reasonable price. They're incredibly, insanely cheap, but you do have to pay the postage, obviously, so it works out more pricey than it would if you lived in Tokyo. But they're very nice. I like those brushes very much, and I do recommend them. Look in the description below for the information about that. This is less said about that, the better. This is an Artex brush. I don't know where that came from. That's not what I thought I had in my hand. Anyway, that'll do. Those 3 there. Tiny little one from Drawwell and 2 big and chunky ones from Princeton, just because that's what I've got. Then I've got some white pens here. This is a Molotov One for All acrylic twin. It's got a thick end and a thin end. It's not quite bright white, so if you want a soft natural white, this is a really good pen to have. And it's raining again. This is Signo Broad White. This is working really well at the moment. I bought it in a shop locally, and it seems to be working better than the ones I've got from Amazon. And this is a new Artex acrylic marker to replace the one that I actually emptied, which is pretty amazing for me. And then I've got an assortment of, well, there's a gold one there. That's another Signo. That's called a metallic. It's kind of sparkly as well as metallic. And then we've got some black fine liners. So there we are. You can go over there. And a pencil. You need a pencil. Here's a pencil. This is a Meeden pencil. I'll sharpen that. And now I can draw a breath and sit down. That's what my dad always used to say to me. I used to say to him when I was little, I used to say to him, "What shall I draw, Dad?" And he used to say, "Breath." Very funny, Dad. So anyway, we're going to draw a breath now and carry on with our painting project. It could be said that it could be worth starting with your branch. So I'll just draw a slight line in there if I'm working on this design, okay? You could do your branches differently from me, but I think I'll do it like this. And I'm just basically going to, should I start with the feet? I often do that, so I'll just put the feet in there, right? And then we'll kind of grow them up to the body. I'm going to give this one quite long legs, like that. And then we can just draw the body around like a kind of smile, something like that. And then the tail. And you can do your lines sketchy like I am here, or you can do them straight, on the straight and narrow. And I'm just going to give this one a little face like that with a little beak pointing up. And then we'll put his eye here. Always put the eye in line with the tip of the beak. It always works best. So that's that one. We could do him a bit bigger. And if you draw your first go and it's not big enough, you think to yourself, oh, what shall I do? Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'll show you what I would do if I don't feel that this is big enough. And it isn't, because it's too small. So I'm going to make it bigger. So let's just draw around the outside of it, okay? So we'll erase the old tail and we will just follow the lines. So we're just upsizing it, okay? Do it like that. So we're just scaling it up, and we'll take it out as we go along. And then, so we'll come around here and we'll just make it bigger. Okay. You remember, you can draw squares over something when you want to do that, if you really want to be accurate, but you can eyeball it, really. I don't think it's that hard. I think just try it and see what you think. So we now have a bigger, and then you can say, oh, yeah, but the head isn't big enough. So, okay, let's just do it a bit bigger then. Okay. Oh, no, the beak isn't big enough. Oh, stop being so picky. Okay, now we bring the legs down again. And he's fine, okay? So that's how you can scale up when you've done it, because often when you do your first drawing, you do it smaller than it should be, right? This often happens. So I'm going to start with the beak on this one. Now, try and control yourself, Diane, and go big, because obviously everything is going to relate to the very first thing you do. So let's do a bigger beak. And then we're going to come down with the body, try to make them so that they have some connection to each other. You can, if you're not confident with drawing, then just download the sketch from our website. Information about that is in the description below. So there we are, we have our two birds. And the branches are going underneath here, and the leaves will be coming out from the branches, but I won't necessarily do them yet. Okay, so now I'm going to use a technique which is, I call it a drop wash, because you put a wash on and then you drop paint into it. So what we're going to do is like a kind of wet in wet, but it's very loose and relaxed. So we'll pick up some water. And I'm going to just wet the whole area of the bird. I think my brush needs washing properly with soap because it seems to be clinging to a whole bunch of yellow. That's something you might consider doing from time to time, you know. I definitely don't wash them every time I use them or every time I finish using them. You would if you had acrylic brushes, you have to do that. But for watercolor, you just rinse them in clean water and it'll be fine. But if your water's got dirty and you just rinse it in that, then it will obviously pick up a bit of pigment, especially these days now that pigment is so much more powerful than it used to be. It tends to hang around and colour the water, which colours the, you know. So question is, what kind of colour are we going to make these birds? And I think I'm going to go for pale blue. So let's pick up a little bit of turquoise here. Yes, I think you can see that. Okay, I'm going to move that out of the way. And I'm just dropping literally paint in. Not using strokes with my brush, but more dabs like that. And let's have a bit more brightness in the tail. Look at that spreading. This is the fun of it, really. And if you tip your paper, the paint will run all the way down to the bottom. And it won't go outside of the bird because it stays where the water has gone. So that's rather fun. And then you can go back up to the top and put a little bit more in if you want. Straighten out your line a little bit. And then you could go for a, if I can find any, indigo. Yes, I'm going to need to replace this indigo. Luckily, I have a new set. Yay. So we put some indigo together with this phthalo blue that's there. That phthalo blue, I think, I'm going to hazard a guess, is core, because you saw how it went sproing and rushed down the paper as if there was no tomorrow. And then I'm just going to drop this dark colour in here. Again, core goes crazy. Okay, and then I'm going to turn to my metallic colours. And let's pick up, and I can see what you're saying. You're saying, oh my God, that's going to be terrible. And it might be, but I don't actually mind, really. So where all of these kind of huge bleeds have occurred, I'm just dabbing in some metallic paint. And if I'm not wrong, the metallic will rise to the surface a bit and give an interesting effect. So we will see. We will see what happens. Okay. But whatever else happens, we will have had fun. So let's pop over here to this chappie. And we'll just wet him. You can see that I don't know if you can see that, but the water going onto his body is now pale blue because the rinse water is blue too. And I'm going to avoid that core colour there because I think it's a little bit over-excitable. And let's just straighten that out. We will be going in with white and possibly gold to embellish them when they're dry. So this is turquoise deep, and I'm going to put that on the tail. Just putting it in with kind of slight pressure on the paper, but very slight. And then we'll run this turquoise around here. I had a lovely comment yesterday from a lady who had just done the pansies that we put up yesterday before yesterday. And she said she'd had a go and she was very disappointed because she'd done exactly what I'd told her to do, but it didn't work and she was really unhappy. And then she had gone to bed. She probably had nightmares about pansies. And then she said, when I came back in the morning and I looked at it, I couldn't believe it. It was so beautiful. And what had happened, of course, was that she had not done anything to it. She'd done what I suggest you do, which is to just let the water do the work. And it had worked. So she was thrilled. And that's what we have to remember to do here. I know it's tempting to keep on playing, and I do it too. But once you've got the paint in, even if you would like to continue, don't continue. Let it do its own thing, because what you need to do, if you have to continue, if you really, really, really want to keep playing with those birds, just go and paint some more, okay? Don't keep working on the same ones, because you'll spoil them. So I'm mixing some lemon yellow with that green, and I'm hoping that that's going to give me, or maybe I'll put a bit of green yellow in yellow, what is it called? Greenish yellow, that's right, greenish yellow. Put a little bit of that in, and we'll just paint in some leaves, all right, down here. And use the point of your brush to give you a nice point to the top of the leaf. And don't worry too much about anything. Just paint in some leaves. Make some of them a bit bigger. And while you're doing this, of course, your birds are drying. And this is one of those situations where you shouldn't really use a hairdryer. Not if you want the full benefit of the blending, which naturally goes on. So I'll make a darker green for the branch. Let me just do this joining thing here. There we go. If you want, you can drop a little bit of darker green into the base of each leaf. And that will also blend, mix and meld, mix and mingle. Now, what colour are we going to make the legs on these here birds, I wonder? Something approaching black, very dark green, perhaps. Entirely up to you. Sometimes we do their legs in a yellow or red. And same goes for beaks, really. A lot of the time, bird beaks are yellow, but often they are black. Okay, and we'll put the eyes in once it's dry. Oh, I forgot to put the gold in this one, so we'll pick up some of that. Okay. Now, like I said, I don't recommend that you use a hairdryer for this process, but I'm going to because I need to get this done. Okay, so let's finish their eyes off, and we'll just put in a nice dark, make it a little bit larger perhaps than in real life, although perhaps not so much. And then we'll go around the outside edge with white. Put a little highlight in there and in there. And then you can go around the outside edge with white, or you can go around the outside edge with darker colour if you want, so either way. And then I think I'll just come down here quickly and outline my leaves. And, oops. Now that's something that happens from time to time. You accidentally touch your paint while it's still wet, and you have to quickly wash off what you've just done. Okay, so that's fine. No harm done. Yeah, so you don't have to outline your leaves if you don't want to. This is an option, but I quite like the way it looks. I don't outline them precisely. I just give them a kind of rustic outline. Hit or miss, mostly miss. Personally, I like the combination of watercolor and line. Quite often, just plain watercolor, the way I paint it anyway, which is just my style, is too soft. I like the dark line. So we'll put in some tones for the bird, perhaps, and shape up his feet a little bit. And in a minute, we'll go upstairs, tell you what's going on up there. Right, so I'm going to take a small brush and I'm going to embellish that, I hope, with some of this. Let's see how this works. This is all a matter of trial and error. And these paints are quite nice and intense, so that's okay. And we can perhaps go to his tail. And maybe I'll switch to a gold pen, maybe, or maybe white would work better. You can never tell really until you try it. Let's try the white. I think I'll put a nice dab of white in the middle of that one. And perhaps we'll put some little white dots up here. And the thing is, as you go along, you'll kind of think, oh yeah, I know, let's do that. There we are. Oh, and I know. Yes. We'll give her a pearl necklace. And I will go around the outside of those flowers. Okay, so that's that one. And then this one over here. Let's see, what shall we do with him? I think I'm going to use white. I know. What we're going to do here, we're going to do some little flowers like this. That works really quite well. And then maybe we'll do a couple of little hearts up here. And we could bring a nice line down here. And we'll put some dots up here. And then I want to get my small brush again, and I'm going to take, because this is quite pale here, so I can go over the top of that and it will show. So we can paint a little bit, a little flower, little green flower in there, and then maybe a darker one here. And then I'll just put a dot in the middle, like that. And then go around the outside edge. Okay. So there we are. You could add, if you wanted to, you could add flowers in the background, and you could do all sorts of other things. And of course you can rub out any showing pencil lines, which you don't want to have left over at the end, really. So there we are. I think that'll do. And we will leave it there. So don't forget the map paints from Etsy, and if you haven't already got yourself a set of Kuretake paints, I do recommend that you do if you're going to treat yourself for Easter or something like that. And there we are. There's our two little decorative birds for today. And I hope you enjoyed that. And I will see you again soon. So I'll let you go. Have fun and happy painting, everybody. Bye for now. Bye-bye.